All right, Chris, so we're at the IoT conference. Some people may not know what IoT stands for. What does it stand for and what is it?
Well, IoT simply means the Internet of Things. But really what it is the connectivity of all the different data points that we're connecting or that we're receiving from our devices, the things that we're driving, even if you think about your Prius. You know, your Prius allows you to not only remotely start to not... Think about your Prius. Not only allows you to remotely start it, but it also tells you the telemetry, how well it's charging, all the information that you're getting on performance. Those are data points that are then transmitted through the internet or through some sort of connected device so that you can now make better predictions or understand how to make your life better. Now, if you think about it broadly, there are so many things that are connected today.
Right.
You know, we have RFID tags that connect us at conferences, and you can badge them. That data point transmits more information. We have our cell phones that collect not only where we're going, what we're doing, what we're listening to, all the different activities, the games that we're playing, how much time we're spending in certain locations. If I go to a location and I'm listening to music, it's telling me that all that contextual information about our lives, as well as what we opt into offering information-wise. Amazon Alexa, what are we searching for? What are we listening to? What are we telling Alexa? How's the weather today? Alarms that we're setting up. Those are, again, data points. And so IoT's goal is to take all of that information and make it usable so that now we have things that are more predictive, right. Things that are making our lives safer, things that are making our lives that much more enhanced. And that can be the devices, it can be the applications, it can be just about anything that is electronic today that is either connected to the internet or connected to something that's providing a signal along the way.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that one of the exhibitors was talking about was it's not just, a personal thing that, IoT is geared towards where, like you said, Amazon Alexa and all these other sort of things, but it's also targeted highly towards business operations. Mm-hmm. Like they gave an example of HVAC sensors being able to be controlled, through the internet or monitored and see maybe an HVAC system goes down in a building. That could be, transmitted to a data center and they can analyze that and, gets back and now you can send a technician if it's out or if it's consuming too much energy or things like that.
Before it's even before the person who runs a business knows it's a problem, they've got a technician on their doorstep. Right. The example that when we were talking to StockView or the Loadstar sensors, mm-hmm. They mentioned FedEx. If the FedEx guy didn't have to make a stop on his regular route because there's nothing there to pick up. Right. Detecting that there is something there on the little box in the corner, or the postal service. How many the big blue bins does the postal service have? And they're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars, a week on gasoline. Millions of dollars just gas. And if you eliminated one of those stops, you could more expeditiously execute your routes. We'd have mail delivered faster, right. And on top of which, we'd be spending far less money than we had to on gas. Right. So, the IoT is so much bigger than just creating devices. It's really about how we're maximizing things.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not just the devices. It's the software. It's the back-end support with the databases. So if you're looking to get into a technology field or engineering field, and you're not familiar with IoT, check it out. There are many applications you can go towards, and you can work on, from everything from the chip that's on the board, or the board itself, or the device that it goes into, or the wireless technology that transmits that data, mm-hmm. or the database that data goes into, and
or the artificial intelligence that's looking at all of it and saying, wow, here's something significant that we can do to make John Smith's better life, right. Or to make Judy Jones, make her life better. This is all about looking at things from a math perspective, an engineering perspective, a technology perspective. Every science, looking at it from health and well-being and research. Every aspect of STEM is touched with IoT.
Yep. And Chris, what conference were you able to check out?
Well, one of the ones that I stepped in was actually given by a professor at Georgia Tech, and she was talking about collecting all the information from IoT devices and how we make that information usable. And when I stepped in there, she actually received a panel from the question that addressed something that you and I talked briefly about, which is what are the privacy concerns when it comes to data usage? How do we share that data? What does privacy mean for individuals? And even just the definition of IoT. And it was interesting to hear her perspective of, sharing data and privacy of data means something totally different for somebody who's in need of help. She used the example of somebody who was either going in diabetic shock or somebody who had epilepsy and goes into the bathroom and has an epileptic seizure. That person's idea of privacy may be completely different than somebody who just wants to have a smart home. It's when that intelligence of the smart home is able to call 911 on your behalf, or figure out ways to get you treatment, or let you know that your blood sugar is low before you get into a diabetic coma. So similar to yesterday when we talked to Nura about how they perceive a intelligent ability for us to connect things together. She was saying, privacy concerns really mean something completely different for somebody who is definitely in need of help.
Right. And so we were able to talk to a lot of the exhibitors. As you saw, we talked to Loadstar Technologies, and they had the supply sort of solution for weighing pieces and different force sensors and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. One of the other ones that I liked a lot was was Sysorex. They had technology to basically track Wi-Fi and Bluetooth devices in a space. So
and not only just track them, but detect new ones that aren't supposed to be there.
Right. Yeah. So one of the security sort of things that they were talking about was, if you're sort of in like right now we're in a conference hall, if there was a sign somewhere that said no cell phones, this sort of router looking thing that was on the wall could track if you're using a cell phone and if it was on and transmitting, and it could actually pinpoint you within a few feet. And I guess if someone had a security camera or something, they could come say, hey, turn off your cell phone.
Or even in prisons, detecting cell phones that were unlawfully permitted inside, or in secure areas where you don't want to have communications, either because they've got sensitive material, or they've got a Faraday cage where they have to have people, where you can't receive and send signals.
Right.
It's a way for them to actually protect their own IP and make sure that people who aren't supposed to have cell phones in certain areas don't have cell phones, and can either alert security or proactively, shut down some of the things based upon other technologies that might be available.
Big data, that was through Objectivity. We met with them. What did you think about what they had to say?
Objectivity and there's a number of providers, and at the Strata conference, which is going to happen in a couple of weeks, we'll hear more about people who are using Spark and Scala languages and R and Python to create applications that are built upon Hadoop or other types of ways of you collecting all that information. I mean, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of columns of information that are collected, not only where you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, what the temperature was, all the other things that come from your cell phones, all the other things that come from all the other types of sensors that are in this IoT arena. They're collecting all that information and then making it usable for application providers. Objectivity is one of the companies that's doing it. They're kind of using today as a warm up for Strata, but their use case model right now, other than the Department of Defense, is actually oil and gas. There's a lot of sensors that happen on big oil rigs or derricks and drilling sites that you have to manage and evaluate all those at the same time. It's interesting to see their solution, how that's being implemented.
Yeah, one of the cool things that they were talking about when they were talking about the oil and gas, where they use this data from these sensors to create an image of underground, and you can see sort of like where the oil is and that sort of thing. Sierra Circuits was another exhibitor who was here, and they manufacture PCBs, and it's basically like a rapid prototype sort of thing. I don't think they do, big orders in terms of, if you've already developed a product,
Right.
but this is more of a rapid prototype.
Well, if you're a maker out there and you're somebody who wants to build something, you've got an idea of how you need a little controller, a PC controller. They will help you print your own boards, a custom board, to do the operations that you need, whatever type of inputs and outputs that you need, routing the power if you have specific microchips that you need, microprocessors as well. They have the pick and place to mount it on the board for you, so you don't have to hand solder everything. They also do online orders too, which was cool. So if you have a spec that you've designed on design software, you could send it to them and they can turn things around within hours and then have it out the door for you.
Yeah, I asked them, what's your turnaround time? They said it can be done the same day, like you just said. So that's pretty amazing.
And the cool thing is we talked to them. We also talked to STMicro. We talked to Surecore, a couple of other companies, and we said, wouldn't it be cool next year for the conference if they all put their heads together and kind of did a forum build where you have rapid prototypers, you have people who could come up with a design, you have software layers. I mean, we had everybody within the IoT ecosystem, from software to the finished product, sensors, that can all play together. And so if they came up with a problem solution, kind of workshop it on the spot, went down the street and pulled out a PCB that implemented all the sensors and all the things, you could actually have a working product by the end of the day. And it would be cool to see all these companies working together in tandem to try and solve a problem.
Right. And speaking of working together and everything, some of these exhibitors that were here today, some of them were like, we asked them, we asked every exhibitor, real world, what sort of applications are you geared towards? And some of them weren't geared towards specific real world applications, while some others were. Like Surecore, they basically manage power consumption with memory chips. That's not something that's like, in your face in the news every day, like, oh, Surecore just, revolutionized the way that power consumption is done with memory chips. But, and I think people don't realize, there's so many technologies going into devices like your cell phone. It's not just, if you think about like you want to get into developing cell phones, there's so many different ways you can do that. And, Apple and all the Android manufacturers, it's not like they manufacture every single component that's in that phone. It's through all these different companies. So today we're able to meet some of these companies who manufacture the little tiny circuit boards and the little tiny chips that go on the circuit boards. And all of that stuff plays a very important role in STEM and technology. And so if you're thinking about where you can go in the STEM field, look at these chip manufacturers, because they are revolutionizing the industry. And it's basically how your cell phone is able to last longer, because if your cell phone is using less power, you can use it for more time.
How shipping companies are able to get things to you safer.
Right.
How Big Blue, IBM is working with a lot of these companies in order to help collect data and make sense using Watson, make sense of how STMicro had an example of how just through a little Bluetooth tap, they're able to get information, transmit that information not only from IBM but back to you, so that now you've got this whole integrated ecosystem of things working together.
And speaking of ST, they had some little demo units set up, and they were just showing the different. They're another chip manufacturer. They were showing the different types of technologies and things. And one of the cool demonstrations that they had was a new type of Bluetooth technology. They said they were the first and only ones to do this so far. It's not the traditional Bluetooth technology, but it's a lot better connection. So you're able to transmit audio at short distances and data. And
now we combine that with the mesh networks that we saw yesterday. Now we've got strong audio video send being sent from phone to phone. You don't need a 3G, 4G signal. I mean, now we can see really what the future is of all sorts of things connected, talking faster, getting data transferred faster. We're really at the cusp of what the possibility is for future technologies.
So we're going to be signing off from the IoT Summit. We're going to be going to Silicon Valley Comic-Con next. We'll be there in about an hour. Can't wait for that. So we'll be doing our live weekly STEM from Comic-Con. So we'll see you next time.